Greetings, dear ones. I'm Drax16 and thank you for joining me for another video. I wanted to do a book review today on The Evidence Bible by Ray Comfort. Ray Comfort is an evangelist from New Zealand, and he's a bit of an older guy, but he's really wise and he has a lot of good things to say in this book. Um, it's derived from the New King James Version. So that's the translation that he didn't actually translate the Bible. He just provided a commentary, and he has like hundreds of articles and just springboards for evangelism and just really good quotes from famous people like Martin Luther and Mahatma Gandhi and Charles Spurgeon. I mean, he lists uh, like the Prince of Preachers uh, words very much. Ray Comfort really likes Charles Spurgeon, as do I. He was an amazing preacher, and his teachings will be, instrumental in bringing about a revival if that's what God has planned for us. I wish we could have like two or three different Spurgeons in our day. That would be wonderful. The church would be so blessed if we had men like Spurgeon. But anyways, um, if anything can be said about Ray Comfort, it's that he loves the lost. He loves those who do not know the Lord. And so in hundreds of articles, hundreds of different comments, he gives us he gives you motivation to hand out gospel tracts and to preach to your lost family members and friends, or even just leaving a gospel tract at a ATM machine, or in a public bathroom, or a laundromat, or whatever. But he also describes different world religions in a few of his articles. In fact, I'll show you. I'll go. Here's an article that he wrote about Hinduism. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's about a page and a half of Hinduism. But unfortunately, some of his information is actually incorrect in that he talks about like Judaism and Islam and Hinduism and Buddhism and all that. But some of his information is actually wrong because he says in one of his articles that Jesus is the only person to have claimed to forgive sins. And that's actually not true at all. Thousands of years, probably about 3,000 years before Jesus incarnated, you have Sri Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita, I believe it's chapter 18, Sri Krishna says that he will forgive Arjun, his student, of his sins. So he says, casting aside all religion and all beliefs, surrender to me and plunge into my worship. And I will forgive, what's the word he uses? I think, I will relieve you of the consequences of your sins. So 3,000 years before Jesus arrived on earth. Well, I mean, no, I shouldn't say that because there were Christophanies in the Old Testament, but a Christophany is like an appearance of Jesus in the Old Testament. But before Jesus' incarnation, 3,000 years before that, we have Krishna claiming to forgive sins. Krishna is, of course, one of the deities of Hinduism. Anyways, and also, you know, he says in one of his Ray Comfort says in one of his articles that jihad is the only way to guarantee that you'll go to paradise, which is patently not true. In Surah 103, Surah Al Asr, the chapter of time, it says, Wal Asr innal insana lafi khusr إلى الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. And that means by time, man is verily in a state of loss, except those who believe and do righteous deeds and who exhort one another to truth and constancy. You know what Muhammad didn't say, well, man is in a state of loss except those who engage in jihad. Even if jihad could be, you know, a lot of what calls itself jihad is anything but that. Blowing up a school or using human shields or butchering Jews and cutting off the heads of innocent Christians, that's not a jihad in the Quranic sense. Um, but, anyways, so in Surah Al Asr, man is lost. Allah swears by time itself that man is lost by default, except for those who believe and do righteous deeds. So you believe in what the Quran says and about prophets and angels and the books that came before Muhammad. And um, so you got to believe and do righteous deeds like the five pillars of Islam, which are, oh gosh, let's see if I can recall them. There's the Shahada, there's fasting during Ramadan, there's Salah or prayer, there's Zakat, which is giving to charity, and then there's also Hajj, which is a pilgrimage to Mecca, Saudi Arabia. So it's not enough to just do one righteous deed. You have to have all four. You need to believe and do righteous deeds, exhort people to truth. That means dawah. You call people to Islam, you preach it, and have constancy or endurance. You have to endure till the end. Because one of the things that Islam teaches is that um, death can occur at any time. Anyways, so to simply say that jihad is the only way to guarantee yourself a place in Jannah or paradise is simply false, according to Surah Al Asr. You can do all the jihad in the world, but if you don't have faith, you ain't getting to paradise, according to Surah 103, because that's the first thing that the God of Islam mentions, that man is lost except those who believe. So it's not enough to just cut off someone's head or suicide bomb or whatever. That's not even a jihad to begin with. But even if it was, you still have to have faith and do righteous deeds and exhort people to truth. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. I'm sorry. So yeah, so in and one of the things that's kind of weird about this is that he comes just out of nowhere about certain topics. Like I'm just in the book of Obadiah, and all of a sudden there's an article about Hinduism out of nowhere. Now, Obadiah is a very short book. It doesn't have anything to do with Hinduism at all. But I think it would have been better if Ray Comfort had organized his articles better rather than just coming out of the blue with an article on Hinduism. Why not just devote that to a section of the book that's dedicated to other religions? So, in other words, put part of the book that's dedicated to religion and just list them one after another: Hinduism, and then after that, an article on Buddhism, and then after that, an article about Judaism and Roman Catholicism and all that. I think that would have been far better than to just come out of the blue with Hinduism and its background. And but let me give you a bit of a taste about what Ray Comfort has to say about Hinduism. Okay, Hinduism is said to be the oldest and the most complex of all religious systems. In reality, nothing is older than Christianity, which began the moment of creation. Amen. It is not easy to give the history of Hinduism because it has no defined beginning and no specific founder or theology. Hinduism originated in the Indus Valley in modern Pakistan more than 3,000 years ago and now is the world's third largest religion behind Christianity and Islam. And he's right. It has about 900 million adherents, with a little over a million in the US and the vast majority living in India. Hindu society is based on a caste system which ranks people by their occupational class. Brahmins, which are priests; Kshatriyas, which are soldiers, king, warrior class; Vaishyas, which are merchants, farmers, laborers, craftspeople; and then Harijans, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, which is the untouchables. The higher a person's caste, the more that person is blessed with the benefits and luxuries life has to offer. Although the caste system was outlawed in 1948, it is still important to the Hindu people of India and is still recognized as the proper way to stratify society. So it gets pretty in depth, but as I said, some of his information is flat out wrong. He's wrong about jihad and Islam and jihad's relationship with Islam. Jihad is not a guaranteed way of getting to paradise. You still, as I quoted earlier, Surah 103, Surah Al Asr, Illa ladina amanu, except for those who believe. So you have to have faith. It's not enough to just engage in warfare. You have to have faith in what the Quran says. Anyways, and he also puts in a really helpful index full of stuff that, you know, because it's quite a large book. It's like, let me see how much it is. 1,848 pages. That's quite a hefty tome. So there's lots of good articles there and commentary by Ray Comfort. He's far wiser than I am. He's the banana guy who did that video about how the banana is proof of God and stuff like that. I tend to disagree with that video, but he is a very, he has a real heart for people who are not saved, non-Christians. Anyways, so the commentary index is going to be invaluable for me when I just want to look up a certain subject. So, like, for example, I'm at the beginning, Adam, where you can look at Genesis 1 5, 2 4, 3 5, 3 6, 3 7, 3 21, 4 3 through 5, 4 17, 5 27, 8 20. And this is all in Genesis, by the way, but also is found in John 17 3, 19 1 and 2, 20 22, Acts 17 26, Romans 5 12, 5 14, and on it goes. And also, it's not just about Bible characters and stuff like that. There's also, just a minute. I'm trying to find hell. Yeah. So in hell, if I wanted to look up some scriptures about hell, it gives a whole list. I'm sorry, I don't really have that advanced of a camera, but it's hell is found in Isaiah 14:9, 33:14, Psalm 76:8, Proverbs 9:18, 11:21, Mark 9:47, 1 Corinthians 3:17, and on it goes. It's really a great book, especially during the upcoming holiday season. And if there's a Christian man or a Christian woman in your life, this would be a perfect gift for Christmas if you celebrate it, or you know, Hanukkah or Diwali or whatever. This would be good for non-Christians too, because it'll give you a better understanding of Christianity. So I would recommend this book to Christians first and foremost, but I would also recommend it to non-Christians, people who are just looking into it to see exactly what Christianity teaches and what Christianity says about itself. When you want to learn about a religion, you need to make sure that you go to what they claim. Because when you go to like a critic of Christianity, it's always going to be heavily laced in bias. It's going to be laced with tons of bias. So, you don't want to get your information about Christianity from Richard Dawkins or the late Christopher Hitchens. You need to go to Christian sources to learn about it. Otherwise, you're just going to get a bunch of biased nonsense. So, if you want to learn about Christianity, the best place to do that, or the best thing to do, is to learn about it from Christians. When you go to when your car needs to get fixed, you don't call a plumber, you don't call a fireman. When you have a car problem, you call an auto mechanic. So the same is true of Christianity. When you want to learn about Christianity, go to Christian sources. Don't just go to to critics of Christianity, like, Skeptics Annotated Bible or whatever that horrific website is that mocks God. It's a disgusting website that accuses God of all sorts of horrific things. Um, but from like atheists and like Dawkins and Hitchens, don't go to them to learn about Christianity. Go to Christian sources themselves, because they're going to understand their religion much more than any atheist leader, especially a guy like Richard Dawkins. But anyways, I think I've gone on long enough. If there's a Christian in your life for this holiday season, you would do very well to get this for your for that certain man or that certain woman in your life who's a Christian, or for just someone who wants to learn about Christianity from Christian people. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there, a lot of different quotes of famous people. I really recommend this book a lot. It's great. It took me about um, maybe 7 months to read. So I like to read a lot. It's one of my favorite hobbies. So yeah, please. And also, there's a link in the description in case you want to get it from. I'll give a link to from Amazon, so you can check it out if you'd like. Anyways, thank you for watching my video, and I hope that all of you have a beautiful day. God bless you.